Participate tonight.
Time to connect to Congress. It's a segment where we talk directly to Washington lawmakers who represent us here in the San Joaquin Valley. Right now, we are talking with Democratic Representative of California's 21st Congressional District, Jim Costa, live from Washington, D.C. Congressman Costa, thanks a lot for joining us today. Good morning.
Well, good morning, Kim, and it's always great to be on Great Day.
Thank you. I'm glad I have this opportunity to talk with you today and to talk about your recent honor by Ukraine and President Zelensky. Tell us about that.
Well, it's the fourth time that I've been in Ukraine in 2 years at the Yalta Economic Security Conference, working with members of the Ukrainian government, and had a 40-minute private meeting with President Zelensky. Toured several of the drone manufacturing plants, looking at the brave Ukrainian people who are fighting for their sovereignty and their democracy. And it is inspiring, I must say. We had 2 days of meetings and looked at the current situation. President Zelensky is coming to Washington here in the next week. He's going to address the General Assembly, meet with President Biden, address the Congress, as well as meet with Vice President Harris and former President Trump. It's a full schedule. He sought our advice in terms of the best way to present the 10 points of peace that the President is going to be briefing Congress and the administration on. And obviously this is a very important time, the next 6 months, the next 12 months, for Ukraine to finally, hopefully, get Russia to stop this war of aggression that they initiated back 2.5 years ago.
And how much do you think can be done by the Biden administration to bring that to a close and to end that?
Well, I think the Biden administration has done an incredible job of bringing together our NATO allies over the last 2.5 years. NATO is stronger today than it was perhaps since the Cold War, with the addition of Finland and Sweden. And we are together, we are united. The European forces have provided over $180 billion in support for Ukraine. The United States has provided about $100 billion plus. That includes, in both cases, from economic, humanitarian aid to military assistance. Clearly, Russia did not anticipate that, and I think that Russia has now putting prisoners out of their prisons to fight the war against the Ukrainians. So the next 6 months is critical. The negotiations, we hope, will begin after the November elections, and we'll see what happens. But President Biden is very strongly in support, along with our NATO allies, of Ukraine and the people to maintain their freedoms and their sovereignty.
All right. I would love to talk with you more about that topic, especially how the two candidates feel about Ukraine and those efforts. But I do need to talk instead about your $3 million announced to improve drinking water infrastructure in Fresno. Can you let us know more about that, please?
Yeah, so we can talk more about Ukraine. There has been strong bipartisan support for that effort over the last 2.5 years. $3.7 million for the city of Fresno is really an effort to combine previous funding levels to improve our drinking water. Obviously, we have communities throughout the valley that are in need of improving the quality of the drinking water. This will improve water for 500,000 residents in Fresno, as well as commercial and industrial concerns. Fresno's water source comes from two areas, groundwater and surface water. This builds on the $1.4 billion that I have secured from the water infrastructure law to the bipartisan infrastructure package to improve water for people in our valley, including our farmers. So this is an effort to build on it, recharging our groundwater, increasing our surface water supply to create a more reliable water supply for our valley, for agriculture, and for the people who live in our cities and our rural communities. It's an important effort.
Indeed. And I would like to ask you, because we are so short on time, I still need to ask you about the federal budget deadline. Do you think that a bill will be created that can pass before the deadline, and will attached funding to support and bring more money to the Secret Service have any impact on that?
Well, we must do everything to protect our presidential candidates as well as the president. And President Biden suggested that we do just that early in August as a result of the horrific attempt on President Trump's life. Clearly, political discourse should never, ever be engaged in political violence. I think the effort to avoid government shutdown, which is a central part of your question, is absolutely essential. In the years that I've been in Congress, I have never, ever voted to shut down government. Our deadline is October 1st. We must come together in a bipartisan effort to continue to ensure that government does the services, whether it's the Federal Aviation Administration, the United States Department of Agriculture, the Forest Service. All these essential services will be in trouble if we don't continue funding past the October 1 deadline. We must come together within the next week. There's going to be an effort today, tomorrow. If it's not successful, it's a partisan effort, and I don't think it will be successful.